This is KGW News at noon.
Now at noon, new information just in this morning about a raid that took place at the Shroom House near West Burnside and Northwest 16th Avenue. This is what's left of the business that was illegally selling psilocybin, also known as magic mushrooms, to its customers. I'm Christine Pitawanich. Thank you for joining us. We've been covering this story since last week. There has been a line of people waiting to get in. That won't be happening anymore because overnight, Portland police stepped in. Portland police just shared this picture of some of the products seized. The raid happened around 1 o'clock this morning, and they took all the psilocybin as well as $13,000 in cash. 4 people are also now in custody. Multiple media outlets started reporting about the Shroom House last week. That led to huge lines of people waiting to buy psychedelic mushrooms. When we pressed multiple agencies about what might happen to the business, they all directed questions to someone else. Today, that changed with Portland police shutting it down. Oregon voters did approve the use of psilocybin with Measure 109, but only for use in a licensed facility under supervision. The program is still in a development period. Our Kyle Aboshi is covering this story today, and we'll have much more coming up on the news at 4 and 5 o'clock. We're also keeping an eye on an Oregon Health Authority meeting set to start in just about 30 minutes. It's expected that the focus will be on the surge in RSV, COVID, and flu cases that hospitals are dealing with right now. Doctors, public health experts, and policymakers will all be attending the public meeting. It coincides with Governor Kate Brown's executive order yesterday, calling for the health authority to spend up to $25 million to help address staffing shortages. The money is expected to cover contracts for 10 weeks worth of temporary staff to support state hospitals. We plan to bring you updates from that meeting in our 4 o'clock newscast. Now to a big story nationally today. The U.S. House of Representatives passed landmark legislation. The Respect for Marriage Act passed with bipartisan support. In all, 39 Republicans crossed the aisle to vote in favor of the bill. This means same-sex and interracial marriages in the U.S. will be protected under federal law. The same measure passed the Senate last week, which means it's now headed to President Biden's desk for his signature. The president has said he intends to sign the bill into law. Another headline making big national news today: WNBA star Brittney Griner headed back home to her family in the United States. The White House announced a successful negotiation with Russia for her release. Griner was freed in exchange for a Russian arms dealer. The WNBA player was detained back in February at a Russian airport after authorities said they found cannabis oil in her luggage. Paul Whelan, an American imprisoned in Russia for more than 3 years now, was also supposed to be part of this prisoner exchange, but he still remains in Russian custody. Closer to home, today, Washington's Secretary of State is expected to certify the results of the 2022 midterm election. By law, the Secretary of State has until the end of the day today to certify it. This includes certification of the highly contested race for the state's 3rd congressional district. That was between Republican Joe Kent and Democrat Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez. Gluesenkamp-Perez won by 2,600 votes. Though the results are expected to become official today, this will not affect any potential recounts like the one Kent has requested. Okay, time now for a quick look at the weather with Rod Hill. Rod, it's been pretty wet out there today.
Yes, I've had several people come up to me and go, Rod, this is just not a nice day. And I suppose it's not, right? We don't have anything stormy going on other than the snow that's causing problems for travelers, primarily in the gorge and up over the Cascades at this hour. You can see to our west scattered showers feeding into Astoria. And what has been mostly a steady light rain in Portland much of the morning is now finally getting ready to push off to the east. You see some dry weather along the Sunset back up through Washington County. This is still snow, all snow in the gorge and snow up into the Cascades. So some live cameras for you. The coast continues to be the one spot that is not bad temperature-wise. 47 degrees, calm winds, clouds. This is Lincoln City, our Chinook Winds Casino Resort camera, where showers continue to be possible. The light rain starting to let up over downtown Portland somewhat. Because of the east winds in the gorge, which I thought would have ended by now, they have not in East Multnomah County out along the Columbia River. PDX at that location is still at 36 degrees. We've been at 36 since the sun popped up this morning. Here's a look at the Sunset Highway. This had some snow earlier, but now it's up to 38 degrees. So for the time being, traveling in the Coast Range, not an issue, but still an issue with a temperature of 31 in Cascade Locks. And it looks like kind of a slushy mess. That's Interstate 84 in the Gorge. And of course, you would expect to see the snow cover up over the Cascades. That was Highway 26 to Government Camp. Trying to get up into the 40s today. You folks in Salem right now are sitting at 42 degrees. The forecast is tracking another push of heavier moisture coming in tomorrow. We'll have that forecast coming up shortly.
Okay, thank you so much, Rod. We're learning new details related to the lawsuit against the city of Portland. The suit argues people with disabilities are unable to get around homeless tents that block city sidewalks. As Blair Best reports, we're now learning just how many tents and tarps have been given out to homeless people over the past 2 years and how much it has cost taxpayers.
The attorneys representing those with disabilities just got access to hundreds of documents from the Joint Office of Homeless Services. Now, that's the county-run organization responsible for purchasing and handing out a majority of the supplies for people living on the streets. Through these documents, we're learning taxpayers have spent at least $2 million on tens of thousands of tents and tarps since 2020.
What we see on our streets today, side effects of a humanitarian crisis made worse by the pandemic, and in many ways still struggling to recover.
These are survival tools, that's all.
And surviving is what Johnny Ray has been doing in Old Town for 10 years. An important part of his survival, tents and tarps, like the ones that make up his brown hut on the side of Northwest Davis Street.
Oh, very helpful. Very helpful. It can save your life.
2 years ago, at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, Multnomah County's Joint Office of Homeless Services gave out tents to homeless nonprofits and people living on the streets in an effort to keep them safe as shelters closed amid COVID concerns. They also did this during severe weather events. Now, 2 years later, they continue to hand them out, many of which end up blocking city sidewalks, which some people with disabilities say makes it nearly impossible to get around.
What the county did was put tents on the sidewalks, which is the very reason why my plaintiffs are suing the city.
John DiLorenzo is the attorney representing the 10 Portlanders that sued the city over ADA access on the sidewalks.
I know of many instances in which people with disabilities were telling nonprofit groups, please do not block these sidewalks. And the nonprofit groups were just doing it anyway.
According to 2021 county budget documents, the Joint Office of Homeless Services gave out 6,550 tents and 27,000 tarps. But that was just for 1 year. The Joint Office tells KGW they haven't yet assembled the amount they gave out this past year. However, through recent subpoenas, the attorneys in this case obtained documents that show from March 2020 to September 2022, the county used at least $2 million taxpayer dollars to purchase 22,700 tents and 69,514 tarps.
A while ago, I used to drive around and think, where are all these tents coming from? And now I realize that we bought them.
The numbers break down to roughly 4 tents and 13 tarps per homeless person over the past 2 years. But for some, it's been much more than that.
I've had maybe like 30, maybe 40. I've been here 10 years.
Okay, and how many tarps would you say?
Maybe 40 or 50 maybe. I've had a few over the years.
Toby has had a new tent every year for the past 12 years. He gets them from friends or shelters. If you never had a tent out here, do you think you'd be out here this long?
Probably not. I might have got tired of it a lot faster. You know, if I didn't have any shelter.
Many of the supplies provided by the county, the city clears in routine camp removals, leaving the homeless coming back for more.
So the tents were either swept up or they disintegrated or they were just thrown by the wayside and people just kept supplying them with new tents.
Blair Best, KGW News.